Byron Nelson used to say that if you can drive the ball well, if you can use the wedge well, and you can putt well, you can play, because those are the three key clubs. And he always said it was the driver, the wedge, and the putter. And Ben Hogan said it was the putter, the wedge, and the driver. That's just because putting was his weakest spot. All right, so the setup here looks pretty good. Got that left forearm showing. Good lean. Now, as you're swinging, the plane of the swing looks quite good. See, that's just beautiful there. That looks great. Perfect is right there, so that's close to perfect as it needs to get. And that's pretty much where we should come through on the downswing as well. See how when we were doing that shaft under the arm drill, you see the tendency for it to go a little bit that way, so that's why we're trying to get this club leaning back a little bit more with that drill. You don't need to think about it in the swing. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't. Now watch, you're coming down nicely from the inside, so you're matching up just perfect with that line. So you're coming from the inside. Now the lower body's not quite turning enough, which is why the weight's not quite transferring to the left. So that's where the pivot drill would come in. Because your weight's a little too solidly on the right side. Reach the bottom of the arc behind the ball a little bit. Kind of drop kicked it a little bit. But great path, as I mentioned out there. You just need to get a little bit more aggressive on the turn through and a little bit more rotation of that left arm so the chicken wing doesn't happen. But it's very difficult to think about that in the full swing. It's just, that's best done, as I say, on those small ones.
And when you talk about rotation of the left arm, you're talking about getting it.
Yeah. It's just like if you're going to shake hands over here, you would automatically rotate it. If you went from here and shook hands with somebody and said, okay, shake hands with this guy over here, you'd automatically turn this enough that this would be in a position to fold, wouldn't you? You wouldn't go this way to shake hands. So it's a simple concept. But like I said, from your old swing where you got so flat and came down, you didn't come down steep though. Well, whatever your combinations were, you came down at a steeper angle, and the left arm just kind of got out of the way to save from getting hurt. And a little bit more lean back. So when you look at people driving the ball well, you usually see great examples of that is Gary Woodland. Love him driving the ball. Got him in here someplace. Where is he? There we go. There we go. You can see how his driver's set up. He's really lean back. There's something called a power V. And the power V starts with a setup, because when your setup is kind of leaned off to the left of the box a little bit, and he's leaned into the right side of the box, and watch what happens when he gets to the top of his swing. The V is from the base of your left ankle to the top of the swing. So you can see the wider the stance, as long as you're turning into the right side, that's a pretty big V right there. But if you start off with this line, it's hard to get behind the ball without a lot of lateral movement. So you see when you did a good backswing position, but there's not a lot of V there. So that's just starting off with a little bit more of a lean to begin with. It's good looking backswing. But if you're not behind the ball, you're, by contrast, you're ahead of the ball slightly. So therefore, it's real easy for that ball to slip off to the right a little bit, like this one did. So if you're a little more behind the ball, it gives you a little more time to square that face. I mean, you can still hit it right or left with any setup, but that just would, if you were a little bit more behind the ball, that face would have had time to square up. And if that left arm has been trained to rotate a little bit, that would also square it up. But the club face actually looks pretty square. So it's just a matter of tying that all together. The face is a little open at that point. Watch him coming through the ball, and you'll see that he's releasing it a little bit more. See how that toe's passing the heel just a little bit more. There's all different ways to do that, but if you're slicing the ball, think close the face. And the easiest way to close the face is get more behind it and get a little bit more rotation with that left arm. That's really all there is with the driver. Now with the putter, all I would do with the putter is just make a little bit more aggressive. It's a good looking stroke. Setup looks great. You can get any configuration you want as long as the arms hang and you got the arms in line with your forearms, or putter in line with your forearms. It looks really good. And then I always try to line up the putter right on or the camera right on the target line. We're aiming about 2 or 3 inches this way. And you can see the stroke itself is very good. The stroke tends to close a little bit coming through. It's got to have a little arc even on a concept of straight back and straight through. So the arc is fine, but the club face is closing a little bit more than we want. That's just a little more for that length of stroke through. You want to be a little bit more square coming through. So I like the idea of tapping into a wall out here, pushing the ball into the hole, and having the ball just 3-4 inches in front of you and making a stroke so that you can, if you're going to get to the ball, you pretty much have to have the face square when you get there. So that looks good though. We'll talk more about putting as we go, but that looks great. All right.